Hello everyone, welcome to SkShadow. Welcome back to another episode of our F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, and this time we are going to Bahrain for our second Grand Prix of the new season. You can see that there's not a lot of time to be able to plan any activities. We've got 2 days literally, so I just go for the sponsor event promotion. And then I'll also show you that last episode I did get it a little bit wrong, as I thought that Ocon had 91 pace, but that's actually 91 racecraft. He's got 80 pace, not 91. So, yeah, not quite as good as we'd initially imagined, but an overall 89 rating is still pretty good, so no complaints there. We have a few resource points, so I go for another chassis development, which is just a tyre wear one. So into the race weekend now, and you can see that qualifying and race are both fully dry. So that's always good. And development wise, you can see we haven't really moved. We're still above Alfa Romeo and Haas and Williams. Looks like the Alfa Romeo has moved up ever so slightly, but we are still above them. So going into qualifying and race, we should hopefully be able to finish above them. So going into qualifying, the car actually felt pretty good around this track in practice. So hopefully that means we'll be able to place it reasonably high in the rankings. The idea obviously is to get both cars into Q2. Because if we go by the performance chart, we should be faster than the Alfa Romeo, Haas and Williams, which if we finish above all of those, that would put us into Q2. As you saw, we went a little bit slow there. This is the first time I'm driving this track with the race line off, because obviously this was the first race of the first season where I still had the race line on. And you can see the entire time we were being very much pushed by one of the Mercedes behind us. Looks like that was Bottas maybe, but we crossed the line with a 128.3, and we go for a second run on the same tyres and go 5 tenths quicker with a 127.8, and you can see our teammate did a 127.3, so there's definitely time left on the table there. And for the time being, we're in P20, so that's definitely not good enough. So we go for another run, and you can see crossing that corner, perhaps a little bit of corner cutting there, but nothing too major. And we're about 1.5 tenths up at the moment, which still isn't going to be enough to get us into Q2, I don't think. Obviously, we need to get basically where Ocon is in P16. Need to get there or above to be able to get to Q2, but we are 3 tenths up now. And we crossed the line with a 127.172, which puts us P17, so 1 out of Q2, which is really annoying. But at least the person that did get into Q2 was our teammate. So yeah, P16 and 17 going into the race.
The stage is set for another enthralling race here in the Kingdom of Bahrain. A Ferrari stronghold in years gone by, but will they be able to add to their record today? It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Good job yesterday from Valtteri Bottas. The Finn starts from pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Ricciardo, Sergio Perez, and Norris, Gasly, Sainz, Leclerc, and Alexander Albon, Hubert, Fiat, Lance Stroll, and Vettel, Ocon, the engineer, George Russell, and Callum Islands, De Vries, Latifi, Magnussen. They've taken a grid penalty, and Antonio Giovinazzi starts from the back of the grid. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
So you saw that due to some engine penalties that people had, we ended up being moved up to P16 instead of P17. It's lights out and away we go. Looks like the guys ahead seem to get a pretty decent start as we jump on board with ourselves now. You can see we got Vettel ahead, Russell behind as we go for a huge dive bomb down the inside, well, down both sides of our teammate and Vettel. And you can see we're still side by side with our teammate Ocon, but we do manage to make it ahead of him. So up to P15 now, so ahead of everyone that we should be. So ahead now we have Vettel and Stroll. Bear in mind Vettel is on hards, so we might be able to get past him, as the hards are a slower tyre, and it seems like the Ferraris aren't very good as we go very fast. And then we do an accidental dive bomb there. I wasn't actually planning on overtaking him, but he just broke very, very early, which meant I needed to swerve over to the side, and that's why I locked up. But we managed to not hit him and get past him at the same time, so a win-win really. So that means ahead of us now is Stroll, and then Huber ahead of him, who I think ended up out of the race in Australia. So it'd be nice to see if he can finish the race this time. It's going to be a very difficult feat trying to get past Stroll, I think, as we round the final corner and moving on to lap 3. Obviously DRS is now enabled, and we've managed to stick within the DRS zone of Stroll, so we've got that to our advantage. And then behind us is still Vettel, and then behind him is Ocon, although Ocon is staying pretty close to the Ferrari of Vettel, so I think it probably won't be long until Ocon's got past him, to be honest. I don't know if he's got issues or whatever, but it might just be that the hard tyre is really slow. I don't know why he chose to start on it, but he did. So I think the game here is probably just to try and stick in the DRS zone of Stroll as long as possible, because all the while we're in it and Vettel isn't, we're going to be pulling ahead, because it's going to be quite difficult to try and get past them, I think. As you see, moving on to lap 5, we are still behind them, and you see our teammate Ocon has actually got ahead of Vettel now, but yeah, still he's 2.3 seconds behind, so this DRS usage is certainly helping us stay ahead. And you can see we are catching up to about 2 to 3 tenths of Stroll when we're going into the braking zones. They seem to be quite slow in the braking zones around this track, especially turn 1. But for the time being, it doesn't seem like it's enough to get past, although we are much closer here. You see we're going down the inside, thinking about it, and we absolutely plant it and squeeze him, and we do manage to get past. That was a very, very late move, sort of a Ricardo-esque type dive bomb there. But he gave us the room, our old teammate, maybe that's why, and we got past. So now we've got Uber ahead in the Renaults. Obviously same engine, but we're probably going to go for a dive bomb here as well. Yep, we do, and we get past him easily. So ahead of us we've got 2 Honda powered cars now in the shape of Kvyat and Albon. You see a few of the guys ahead went into pits, which means we've got P10. You see Kvyat going for a move on signs there, locking up. Means they're quite slow. We think about trying to capitalise on those mistakes, but we're just not close enough. And it's quite difficult to overtake through that particular corner section anyway. Are we going to go for a dive bomb on signs? We do. Very, very late there. Almost make contact with the rear of signs there. That would have pretty much ruined our race, as we'd probably got a penalty, and we'd most definitely have lost at least half of our front wing. But that's us up into P9 at the moment. Obviously, a lot of the guys around us are on softs, so they might be doing a 2-stop as we cross the line, and we take... where do we take? First place, although Huber is very much going down our outside there, but looks like we do manage to keep hold of the position. But for the second race in a row, we are actually leading at one point. Obviously, we've still got a pit, so it doesn't really make much of a difference. But it is quite nice to be P1. Maybe one day we'll actually finish P1. That would be very, very nice. If we can get a podium again this race, that would be insane. 2 podiums in a row. Our sponsor objective of getting 15 points in the Constructors would be done in 2 races. So that would be ideal. You see Bottas easily gets past us, but that was kind of on purpose because I made sure he was ahead of us before the DRS detection point, which meant that we got DRS. Because if he didn't get past us then, he would have got past us in the DRS zone. So might as well have tried to get the DRS to stay ahead of Huber behind us. And you see we actually make a little bit of contact because, like I say, for some reason they're just really, really slow in braking in the first corner there. They just brake way too early. No idea why, but they do. And moving on to lap 13, it is time for our pit stop now. You can see we're going to go into the pits now, onto the set of hards in 2.8 seconds. So not bad. You see Huber very much behind us, so he must have had a decent stop as well. As we cross the line and see where we come out. So it looks like we come out pretty solidly in P15. Obviously, bear in mind that a lot of the guys ahead have got to pit again. Because the guys that started on softs are looking like they're going to have to do a 2-stop. Whereas obviously we just went mediums to hards. So unless anything drastic happens, we shouldn't be stopping again. But yeah, P15, ahead of us is Signs on softs. He's like 5 seconds ahead. So we probably won't be catching up until he goes in for his second stop. So until that point, we are probably going to be fighting Huber. But you can see that I think that's Verstappen coming out the pits, and we managed to get past him as well. Yeah, it was Verstappen, yeah, because Huber's passed him as well. Verstappen in P9, and Bottas is out of the session for the second race in a row. So that's definitely going to help Hamilton in his fight to get his, what would be the 8th championship, I think, in this season. Looks like Bottas was potentially going to be taking the fight to him, but 2 DNFs, that's not good. You see Huber try to go for a move down the outside again. And now he's on our inside, but we managed to squeeze ahead. See, Verstappen has still failed to get past Huber. So on brand new mediums, he's not doing very well. Seems like the Honda powered cars, and especially the Ferrari powered cars, are having a bit of an issue with their engine at this point. You see everyone has pitted, and we've moved up to P3. We actually made a little bit of contact there with Verstappen going for a massive dive bomb down our inside there. And Vettel is out of the session as well. I mean, he wasn't having a particularly good race anyway. But yeah, you see Verstappen is now 2 seconds behind, so I feel like with our little bit of contact there, he may have lost a bit of front wing because he's going very, very slow, which is good for us because it's keeping everyone behind us. And you can see on the little mini-map in the bottom left, Verstappen has gone into the pits. So yeah, he must have had some wing damage, and it reveals a George Russell in P5. So yeah, that'll be good if he can end up having his Alfa Romeo there. But you see, I think this is Signs, and he loses it and just hits Russell. Absolute madness. So yeah, that's George Russell out of the session. So we were saying that it'd be nice for him to get some points, but doesn't look likely anymore. And that's going to have ruined Carlos Sainz's race as well, because undoubtedly he's going to have to go into the pits and get a wing change, which will put him out of the points. You see Gasly going for the move on the outside there, but we go very, very late on the brakes and we stay ahead. You can see I'm going to be fighting for dear life to hold on to this P3 position, as it is lap 26 and the guys behind are a fair bit faster than us, because even though Gasly has got a slower engine than us, overall a quicker car, and he's on mediums that are newer than our hards. So that's going to be an interesting one, trying to stay ahead of him, and obviously behind him is Stroll. But moving on to the last corner of lap 29, we use Rich, overtake, we use everything we've got, and we cross the line for P3 for our second podium in 2 races. So yeah, pretty good result for us, and once again we get the driver of the day as we did last race. And there we are on the podium alongside Hamilton and Perez, because obviously Bottas ended up out of the race. Our teammate ended up P11, so 1 behind the points, which is a little bit disappointing, but nonetheless pretty good result for the team overall, because we have hauled in 15 points for our team. And standing wise, that puts us P3 with 23 points. Obviously Ocon is still yet to get any points, and P4 in the constructors with 23. So yeah, our constructor target of getting 15 points, that is done basically, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. But yeah, other than that, thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, all that fantastic action, and that's it from me. Good night.